Hello and welcome back to The Sweet Spot. This week's guest is Jason Yun, and he is a circadian health coach, circadian rhythm health coach. And we had a really great conversation around the sun and different things that you can do to increase your energy levels and what it all means basically and how to use them to your advantage. So I'm going to read off his bio here to give you his background real quick, and then we're going to jump into it. Jason Yun started his business in 2007 as Yun Fitness Boot Camps and transitioning to Improvement Warrior Fitness in 2013, training both adult Gen Pop and young athletes. His sole focus at the time being fitness and nutrition helps everyone, yet he was always left wondering why some clients got awesome results, yet the vast majority struggled, and some even reversed their progress, especially his older clients. It wasn't until his health took a turn that he started looking in a different direction. Enter the world of circadian biology and Dr. Jack Kruse in 2018. Circadian rhythms deal with every single process in our body, and that includes every disease process, and diet and exercise cannot fix it. Jason quickly saw the light, literally and figuratively, and created several courses and coaching programs related to circadian health, as he transitioned from a former fitness nutrition guru to a light guru. When Jason is not bio or mito hacking, you can find him with his son, daughter, and wife spoiling his sheepoo at New Kids on the Block concerts or watching Sylvester Stallone movies. He currently resides in Columbus, Ohio, and suns his balls and butthole daily and legally. Enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Small Business Sweet Spot. I'm Barb Davids, and I'm here to help you get more website traffic and leads with simple, actionable SEO and content strategies. In each episode, I share tips and tactics and talk with other business owners who help us grow both in our business and in life. I'm so glad you're here. Let's go. Thanks for joining me today, Jason. I'm so glad you're here and ready to talk about all the things you know.
Thank you for having me, Barb. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So you approached me about talking around circadian health, if I got the phrase correctly. And I thought it was an interesting one. I had never heard that phrase before, so I would absolutely love to talk about it. Where would you like to start with the subject?
Well, circadian health it's kind of something that I took. So it comes from circadian biology, which comes from circadian rhythm. I've also talked about circadian fitness, circadian nutrition. So there's too many circadians, so I needed to throw it all into one aspect that people would understand. But basically, circadian rhythm, if your viewers are not familiar with, is basically we are dictated by a 24-hour cycle. So obviously, depending on where you live, the sun is going to rise at a certain time and it's going to set at a certain time. So it'll be light for part of the day and it'll be dark for the other part of the day. Both of those are very helpful and very needed for our health. So in terms of a 24-hour cycle, certain things are supposed to happen at certain times. So there's a time when our blood pressure is supposed to be highest. There's a time when certain hormones are supposed to be on and certain hormones are supposed to be off. There's a time when we're supposed to poop. There's a time when we're supposed to eat. There's the best time to work out, or best time to do a more of a cardio-based workout, better time to do a strength type workout. So everything is dictated by that circadian rhythm, and pretty much all symptoms of disease is basically a breakdown of that circadian mechanism, if that makes sense.
That does, yeah. And I feel like that makes sense because like when I get up before my alarm, or like if I don't have an alarm, let me say actually, I get up when the sun gets up for the most part, and I get tired when it starts getting dark.
Okay, that's good.
So how can I make the most of that? Like, is it just making sure that I do certain things at the same time of day, or?
In regards to circadian rhythm, the thing that sets it is the sunrise.
Okay.
So you want to see, no sunglasses, no contacts, and obviously you're wearing glasses. The best thing to do is just pull them down to the bridge of your nose so the sun can get into your eyes. And when I say see it, most people won't be able to just stare directly at it because they live an indoor life and they've got more blue light, artificial light problems. So if that's the case, if you can't look directly into it, just keep looking to the side until you're not squinting or you're not blinking or you're not tearing up. And then as your eyes get stronger, then you can come back to the full sun because there's no UV in sunrise, but basically there's a lot of red light and there's a lot of blue light. And that blue light is what sets off it's what's known as melanopsin in the eye. So that's basically our blue light antenna. That's basically like our timepiece, our clock. It tells us what time of the day it actually is. So it's telling us to wake up. It's going to turn on certain hormones and it basically just sets the circadian rhythm. So it's supposed to be like your cup of coffee rather than an actual cup of coffee.
Probably more natural, right?
Is
there a certain amount of time that I should do that for?
It'll depend on your lifestyle. Like everything that I'm going to be saying is a context to context person. So it's a person to person basis. Everybody has certain contexts, certain environments that they're going to be under. And so some people will be living in Florida. I live in Ohio. I don't know where do you live, Barb?
I live in Arizona. I live next to the sun.
So good area for the sun.
Yeah.
So depending, it just depends on what's going on in your life. I mean, I would say if you can get 15 to 30 minutes of it, but sometimes I can't even do that. So I've got 2 kids, 10 and 5-year-olds, and their bus right now is leaving when the sun is rising. So I'll walk them to the bus, but I'm still getting that sunlight. So the first one, my daughter is 10. She's in the 4th grade. Her bus comes first. I'm walking her to the bus stop as the sun is just rising over. So I'll be looking at the sun as much as I can while I'm walking and then while I'm at the bus stop. And then after that, I walk back up and then I usually stop for my morning sun. I take my clothes off and most people won't do that to start. And that's perfectly fine. I didn't do that. I was afraid, embarrassed what other people would think and whatnot. So it's what's known as a dopamine problem. So it's just low dopamine. As you raise your dopamine and you start to feel better, you won't really care what other people think, so to speak. But
interesting. I've never related dopamine to worthiness.
I've never related to that word, but yeah, I guess it could be that.
So how do you see that? I want to go there because I think that's interesting. You think that dopamine affects how we think people think or what we care about it? Or can you go into that more? I'm interested in that piece.
Yeah. I did an entire webinar on dopamine, but basically it makes us, your ability to be curious about certain subjects, your ability to think without being like told what to think. So I always tell people, stop watching the news completely because they're just it's just all negative and they're trying to force you to think a certain way. And so try to avoid that. But your ability to think, your ability to be curious, your ability to just be more free-minded, and open, I guess, more like a child. So like a 5-year-old. So they're going to ask you questions. They don't care how you feel. It's going to be why, what's this, what's that, all that stuff. So
Definitely.
Going. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, I have a 5-year-old. So he's at that age where he's doing that right now. But yeah, so with regards to dopamine, after the sunrise is, in my opinion, the second most important frequency from the sun. And that's when UVA light comes out. So ultraviolet light, ultraviolet A. So that is when we actually make dopamine. We also make other things like melatonin, serotonin, beta endorphins. So that beta endorphins is basically like an opioid-like substance. So it's basically nature's way of telling us, hey, you're supposed to be addicted to me. You're supposed to be outside rather than on your phone inside. And what I always tell my clients and other people is get an app called Sun Position Demo. So it's not even the paid version, but it will tell you basically where the angle of the sun is to the decimal point. Once the sun gets over 10 degrees, that's UVA light. So if it's under 10, that's sunrise, or on the opposite end, it's sunset. Then once the sun gets over 30 degrees, that's UVB sun. That's what makes vitamin D. And there's another app I recommend. It's called D-Minder app. So you just enter your location, enter your stats and your settings, and it'll tell you how much vitamin D you're making per minute. It'll tell you when it's out, when it's gone. It's pretty cool. I always recommend those too.
I'm definitely going to check out the D one. So I lived in Las Vegas before here, and there was a period of time when I had a really low level of energy and I didn't know what was happening. So I went to the doctor, and normally I don't have to go to the doctor like ever. I'm pretty healthy.
Mhm.
There's just something in my body that I'm just like, whatever. But I had to go at this time because I couldn't understand what was happening. And they said I had a vitamin D deficiency. And I thought, well, how ironic since I live in Las Vegas. Like, how is that even possible? And I know it's because I was staying out of the sun for the most part, except for when I was running in the morning. So I probably was trying to stay so far out of it because it's so hot all the time. So for those examples, or for the people that maybe for whatever reason, that's probably a whole nother topic, why they can't get up and get to the sun when it starts in the morning. Do you suggest alternatives?
Well, we're going to go in a different direction here, but Las Vegas is, the sun doesn't really, the sun won't make a difference if you are living in what I call a non-native EMF. So non-native EMF, I also call it electro pollution. So Las Vegas is like one of the worst cities. So think of the more people you have in a small area, and I mean, Vegas has millions of visitors every single day.
Mm-hmm.
The more people you have, the more gadgets, the more tech, the more stuff that's going to be actually irradiating you. So I relate diseases to the main causes of diseases to two things: artificial blue light and non-native EMF. So non-native EMF, you can think of like your phone, Wi-Fi, smart meters, electricity. A lot of people don't think that, but there's one book I recommend. It's called The Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Furstenberg.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of it or anything, but
Mm-mm.
okay. It relates every new electrical invention to some form of like pandemic or sickness. So like the 1918 flu, when we got radar, there was another type, swine flu or some other thing that happened. When the cell towers came, when 5G came, all these stuffs are related to like basically electrical stuff. So more and more people are getting like what's known as electro hypersensitive. So it's like people, they if you're like really, really bad, you can like tell when you're going into an area, you can't go into that area because you get like headaches, you get like buzzing in the ear, tinnitus, your teeth start to vibrate and headaches and all that stuff. So, but yeah, if you're constantly wearing like certain devices, or you're putting your phone up on your head, or you're wearing like an Apple Watch or AirPods, those things are destroying the mitochondria. And when you destroy the mitochondria, the circadian rhythm is going to be off. And when the circadian rhythm's off, you can't raise your vitamin D, even if you're outside in the sun naked. So yeah, so it's one other aspect. So there's other aspects besides the sun that are destroying us. But so you've got to take both into consideration. So you've got to connect more with nature, and then there's certain things you can do to mitigate the issues with non-native EMF, especially for people that work at home and whatnot.
Yeah. And what are some of those things?
Well, one of the best things you can do is grounding or earthing.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing now. So I'm barefoot in the grass. And it doesn't have to be all day. I mean, it can be, as soon as you do it, in less than 10 seconds, you're getting a benefit.
Okay.
Because one of the big benefits is blood clot. Well, one of the big problems with like non-native EMF is like the clotting of blood. And then one of the benefits of grounding is that it basically unclots the blood. I understand people have meetings and Zooms and whatnot. So when it is colder, I do go inside. And so I connect a thing to my wrist. So it's just a grounding rod. So it's a copper grounding rod outside my window. And then there's a copper wire that goes to the wrist strap. And I just attach that on and basically grounded there. So that's one thing that I do recommend.
Okay.
The other thing is the light from the computer. So I have it's an app called Iris. on my computer.
Okay.
So basically I can take the blue light down. So I think I have it on 20 right now, but you can take it down to 0. So usually when I go inside, it is on 0 at all times. But right now it's at 1300 Kelvin. So that's less than sunrise. So when the sun rises, the color temperature of the sun is around 1800. And then when the sun sets, the color temperature is around 16,000. And then
Okay.
there's it's the spectrum as it goes up throughout the day. So your computer, your phone, your tablet, they are basically a color temperature of around 5,500 to 6,500. And so that is equivalent to around 12 to 1 p.m.
Oh,
So if you're looking at that screen, it's basically giving you a signal, hey, it's 12 to 1 p.m.
all
So
day.
all day. And the sun is changing second to second to second to second.
Yeah.
So, and that's really a problem if it's like before the sun rises, or worse is after dark. So there's a acronym called ALAN, which is known as artificial light at night. And so that's really what messes you up. So yeah, so certain things that you can do for that. There's blue blocking glasses. I don't know if you've heard of them or seen
Mhm.
them. There's different types. So there's day blockers that you can wear. My kids wear them at school.
Mhm.
So it's either a yellow or a gray pair. Don't get the clear. Those are just snake oil salesmen, people trying to
Uh-huh.
sell you something. Then there's the orange that blocks up to 500 nanometers, which will block most of the blue light, or all the blue light. And then there's 550, which is like red pair, that will block all the blue light and all the bad green light. So, and will be one of seeing the sunrise and wearing the blue blockers at night. That will be one of the best things for your sleep. And you'll notice it like within a week or two.
Is it that we'll notice more energy, or is there something else?
Well, blue light destroys melatonin. So melatonin, most people know it as the hormone of darkness. It's it's the thing that makes you sleep better.
Mm.
But like I said, most people don't know that it's made in sunlight, in that UVA sunlight.
Mhm.
More of that frequency you can get, the more you can make. And yeah, and then when the sun goes down with the blue blockers on, that's going to protect your melatonin, because if it gets destroyed, then you can't actually get into the deeper stages of sleep. So stage 3 and stage 4, which is REM sleep and deep sleep. So that's the stages of sleep that restore your proteins and your mitochondria.
Okay.
And so yeah, it's, if that's not working, if you're just constantly running on the same proteins over and over again, then you get like early heart disease, you get cancer, you get brain disease, and all the things that nobody wants.
Yeah, definitely. So these daylight lamps then, probably not a good idea, right? Because they
Are you
stay the
talking
same
about
all day, right? Like I have a
the
floor lamp that I used to use, and it was daylight lamp because I didn't like the yellow lights that came, and I, for whatever reason, didn't change them. I don't know why, but if I use
yeah,
daylight 'cause I like the white colors, but it sounds like that's not a good idea.
yeah, it's anything that stays the same frequency. I mean, if you're working at home, I always recommend opening a window, because the windows, they will block usually 99 to 100% of the UV light. They'll
Mhm.
block 40 to 60% of the red light, and they'll let all of the visible light in. So that's the blue light that they'll let in. So it's basically creating a toxic environment. So it doesn't have to be much. It's, you just crack your window, and usually there's like aluminum or some kind of metal on the base, so the sun will bounce all around. I also recommend that for when you're driving your car.
Mm.
But yeah, open the window. That will help. So at night we use like an amber light, no blue light in it. And basically there's red lights, orange lights. It's always best to get either an LED that is flicker free, or an incandescent. Incandescent has actually been banned. I think it's worldwide, but it was banned last year in the US. But you can still get them for like decorative purposes. But yeah, so I mean, they know what they're doing with light and changing everything to LEDs and CFLs and all this stuff. So they know how it affects us and affects our biology and mitochondria and circadian rhythm and whatnot.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was very insightful and very informative. Is there anything else that we need to know when it comes to the circadian rhythm and how then the light affects, and maybe, because I don't know what I don't know, I say this a lot, but what else is there that would help us improve our health around that sort of same idea or in that area of?
Well, there's a lot.
Pretty open-ended question, right?
I would say there's like I used to have a gym and used to be really big into the fitness and nutrition. I mean, I still am. I still train people and whatnot. But in terms of nutrition, I'll give you some of the old rules of nutrition that I used to tell my clients to do that I found out is just completely wrong.
Okay.
So the so there's like this myth that you have to eat multiple times per day to like stoke your metabolism so you can become like a fat burning machine.
Hmm.
So I used to tell my clients to eat every 3 to 4 hours, but that is actually absolutely horrible for you. And it comes down to a hormone called leptin. So I don't know if you've heard of that, but leptin is basically our master hormone. It's the controller of all energy metabolism. So it wants to basically tell the energy status of the body so you can burn. Your body wants to burn fat. Even if you're like a super athlete and you're like 5 to 10% body fat, you've got body fat that can fuel your body without food for days and weeks. But it wants to burn fat. But if you're constantly eating every 3 to 4 hours, it's like basically taking a road trip from LA to New York, and your gas gauge doesn't work. So you're just basically filling up based on a guess. You don't know how much to fill up and you don't know when to fill up. So you just have to randomly do it at certain times. This really messes up your circadian clock because you can, especially your eating clock, because we're supposed to just eat when the sun is out. So I say sun out, kitchen open, sun down, kitchen closed. But basically, if you're eating those multiple meals per day, you're having to fill up, and usually you will reset your gut and your liver clocks to be different than your brain and your eye clock.
Mm.
So the master circadian clock is in your eye. It's known as the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the SCN. So it basically talks to all the other clocks in your body. So all of our organs, all of our genes have a peripheral clock that they need to talk to. And if things start breaking down in like a certain area, so say like you have liver problems, then you've got more circadian mismatches going on there. And usually the eye clock is disconnected from the liver. So, and it's just important to be basically just start resyncing the liver clock and the eye clock.
Okay. Yeah, that was one thing I had heard that really speeds up your metabolism and stuff. So that's good to know that that's wrong. All right. This is so good. What would you say out of all of that would be like the one takeaway you hope somebody walks away with?
One takeaway I would hope would be either the sunrise, seeing the sunrise with naked eyes, or blocking the blue light at night.
Okay. Okay.
So
I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thanks for taking the time to be here with me today and sharing that information.
absolutely.
If somebody wants to find out more and reach out to you, where can they find you?
The best thing to do is get on my newsletter, my Improvement Warrior newsletter. So it's improvementwarriorfitness.com/NL. And if you're on social media, the best places, my Facebook and Instagram is sun.yun.jason. And my Twitter is Yun Training. And then I've also got like 1,500 videos on YouTube. So, and usually when I post on social media, at the end of it, I will post a hashtag that it's like hashtag blue light with Yun or sunlight with Yun. So that way you just click it and you can see all the other posts that I did and go down a rabbit hole, so to speak.
All right. That's handy to go down the rabbit hole. That's actually a really thoughtful idea just to get on the same, like to see all the different ones. So very, very awesome. All right. Thanks so much, Jason, for your time. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
All right. And that wraps up this week's episode. Please stay tuned for more episodes to help your business thrive online. We'll see you in the next sweet spot. Cheers.
Thank you for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you're looking for SEO and content marketing help, you can find all kinds of information at compassdigitalstrategies.com. And if you like the episode, please tell a friend. Cheers.